in the 60s. He was back there again last week, visiting a new Doctor Who exhibition.
Hello, and welcome to the console room of my TARDIS. You see behind me some skeletons from my cupboard. We might look at those later if we've got time. And talking about time, I'm now going to take you in a journey back in time. And the one that captured everyone's imagination and launched this amazing phenomena.
I used to watch it as a child, of course, like most children in the country did. And, of course, it was sitting behind the sofa or with a cushion in front of my eyes and basically terrified. When I was little, my mother stopped me watching Doctor Who for a while because I was so scared of the Cybermen.
But I started watching with Patrick Troughton, who I enjoyed immensely, and I think everyone's first Doctor tends to be rather special.
Well, my doctor, when I was a child, was Jon Pertwee, who I had the great pleasure of meeting a couple of weeks ago, which was really exciting for me, actually meeting him in the flesh. But, of course, now my doctor is Sylvester, of course.
25 years. A long time, but not a long time for a man who's been around for over 900 years. In order to stay around that long, one's got to look behind all the time. It's got a magical format that has kept it going for 25 years, and I think I wouldn't be at all surprised if I live long enough, if it's still here in 25 years' time.
Well, blow me if it isn't Jon Pertwee. The TARDIS has lost its way again and given us the third Doctor. He's landed in our London studio. Good morning, John.
Good morning to you.
How does it feel to be 25 or 900?
Oh, it feels better to be 25.
And you look it, you look it.
Thank
John,
you.
You're still involved with the Doctor, aren't you?
Well, to a degree,
You still
yes.
take an interest.
Yeah,
Tell us about
I
that.
go to America still a great deal for Doctor Who conferences.
It's the Whovians, isn't it, they call
The
themselves?
Whovians,
The
yes,
Whovians.
that's right.
Yes. Now, I think beside you there is Verity Lambert. Good morning, Verity.
Good morning.
The very first producer of Doctor Who all those years ago. We have this question to people who have done these series that seem to go on forever. Would you have thought in those days it was going to be the success it became?
Well, I suppose when we first started it, we were going to do it for a year. And a year seemed a very long time at that point. But yes, I thought it was a wonderful idea. It wasn't my idea. It was Sidney Newman's idea, who ran the BBC drama department at that point. I thought it was good enough to continue, and so it has.
Right. How long were you actually on it for, Verity?
About 18 months.
Mm. And you chose William Hartnell, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Right. Right. We've got a phone call now for both of you. It's from Ian Shand. Good morning, Ian. He's calling from Milton Keynes.
Good morning.
Hello, is Ian Shand there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, right. Ian, what's your question? Are you a Whovian?
Yes, I have been for quite a while.
Uh-huh.
First of all, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was curious to know because I'm sure I've heard in one of the series that any Time Lord can only regenerate 12 times. And I'm sure that William Hartnell claimed to be the third. If that is the case, what's going to happen when you get to number 12? What do you think is going to happen then? How long is Doctor Who going to run for?
Who would like to take that one? John?
Well, but I ran 5 years. Tom Baker ran 7. They were the longest, I think. Bill was how long?
I think about 2.5 years.
2.5 years, and Pat was about the same. I would think that if Sylvester hangs on for 5, and he's number 7, isn't he? You've got quite a long way to go.
Absolutely.
Whovians pay great attention to detail, don't they?
They certainly do.
Have you ever had that sort of thing, John, when you get a Whovian at some conference in America saying that wasn't quite right?
Well, I never know really the answers. I find that the Whovians themselves know the answers far better than I do. They ask me unanswerable questions, particularly technical ones, and I say, now, who can answer that question for me? And then somebody says, I can, and I said, right, go. And they tell the story, and they tell it exactly, and I say, that's it, you've got it absolutely right. I hadn't any idea what the answer was.
But when people are talking about if it's going to run and run, I mean, a year or two ago it looked as though it was going to come off the air altogether. Do you feel that Michael Grade was Doctor Who's greatest enemy ever?
I don't think he was its greatest fan, I'd put it that way. But no, I don't see any reason why it should ever stop. I mean, the Mousetrap's gone on forever and will go on forever.
Do you think the quality is just as good, Verity?
Well, I think inevitably, if a series runs for 25 years, it has to change, and it has to take in changes in society. I've been in Australia for about 18 months, so I haven't really seen any of the new Doctor Who. I think perhaps he's become too much of an establishment figure. I think the great, I don't know if John agrees with me, the great thing about the Doctor was that he really was an outsider, and he was unpredictable, and he did know more of certain things and less of certain things, and perhaps he's become too much of an institution.
Do you think that the Doctor, not the Doctor himself, but that the series itself is less frightening? Because it was criticised by Michael Grade for being too violent, but a lot of people say it's a wee bit too knockabout these days, that it's not as frightening as it was, and that you can see the Daleks are just sort of bits of cardboard and things, or perhaps we're all just getting older.
I think that is one of the reasons why it was so popular, and is so popular, in the United States of America. They love it, and I mean love. There's a tremendous amount of love and affection for the programme, and I think that they love it because it occasionally looks as if it's made of cardboard. It has that sort of quality.
Is Ian Chan still on the phone? Ian?
Yes?
You still there? What's the appeal of it for you, Ian?
Well, I think past appeal more than present is, yeah, it was very scary, and it was fun to, like, sit behind the couch on Saturday nights watching Doctor Who.
You're just getting old as well.
Oh, I don't know. It's not as much fun these days. I mean, seeing Bertie Bassett on the most recent series has been a bit silly, I think.
Verity, if you were producing it now, what would you do to it?
I think I might try to take it back to its roots, and try and re-establish the Doctor as a more mysterious figure. In the early days, although we got lots of complaints about the fact that it was frightening, it wasn't really overtly violent. The fear, I think, came from the unknown, and I think that's much more potent than actually seeing people take ray guns out and bop each other on the head.
Okay, John, in a way you were, I suppose some people would think that you were partly responsible for almost softening it, because your Doctor was a softer, gentler, more amusing sort of person than the two that had gone before.
Yes.
Did you have any say in that?
Yeah, well, maybe I was gentler, but I was also responsible for the things like Venusian karate and all these things. It was a more active program, I think, physically, when I was in it, because Barry, my producer, encouraged me, or because I was wildly enthusiastic about gadgets and anything which sort of was unusual that drove, like, you know, speedboats and that we used, and motorcycles and mad cars like my Bessie and the Who-mobile and all these things.
One word, yes or no, John, would you like to appear in it again, either as Doctor Who or not?
Yes, I'd love to appear in it, but only as a guest, as I did in The Five Doctors.
OK, well, thank you both for being a guest on our programme this morning, Verity Lambert and John Pertwee. And happy birthday, 900 years old. Natalie?
Well, as I said...